I will start the recording for this breakout room. Hello, everybody. My name is Matilde Kinelato, Mobility Project Coordinator at Eurocities, supporting my colleagues during this launch event of the e-publication of CIVITAS. I work on electromobility at Eurocities, specifically on charging infrastructure. So this session is certainly very interesting to me as well. As you know, as you've heard from the plenary, we will hear from Aachen and Madrid in this round. We have Christine here and Francisco, who will navigate us through their activities in their cities. We will have the two presentations, which will take around 20 minutes overall, so that we can have enough time at the end to discuss and ask questions. I suggest that we keep the questions for the end, but of course, feel free to already note down your questions in the chat box. I will read them out loud at the end. You can also raise your hand so that I can also give you the floor. You can unmute yourself. Feel free. This is a knowledge exchange opportunity. So we're here for this. So don't be shy. We're here to learn from each other. So without further delay, I hope everybody sees my presentation. I will ask, so Christine to start. Christine, are you there? Hello? Christine, we cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So
So you can just tell me when I can change the slides.
right.
I will be there. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I do not see the slide yet. Oh, okay. So yes, welcome, warm welcome again. My name is Christine. I work for the city administration here in Aachen, and jointly with my colleagues, I do the planning for electromobility. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just a quick snapshot. What is this Aachen? Where are we? We are a medium-sized city of 260,000 inhabitants with a big share of students. We have 4 universities in Aachen with around 60,000 students and a strong focus on engineering and informatics. Aachen is in the heart of Europe. We are right at the center of the border towards Belgium and the Netherlands. And yeah, we are famous for Charlemagne, who was coronated here in Aachen, and also we are an equestrian center with our annual championships, and we have gingerbread, which we are famous for. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just really briefly the structure of our SUMP. So from top to bottom, we started with the Vision Mobility 2050 already in 2014. The general aims, they are based on the EU white paper, and the Vision Mobility was unanimously adopted by the Mobility Committee. And so from here on, we started. This was meant as a realistic ideal with visions for every subchapter. This year, we worked on 2 further documents, namely the strategy mobility 2030, with one part on the structure and the mission, and the part 2 defining targets and indicators to make our work measurable. Next slide, please. So our SUMP process is being developed according to SUMP principles, namely it's we work in participation with our Aachen citizens, and we do a lot of evaluation. Next slide, please. So to put the topic of electromobility in the framework of the SUMP, this was meant as a short introduction of the structure. Within the SUMP, electromobility is seen as a horizontal or cross-cutting topic. Aachen, also due to its university, has been a model region, a federal model region of electric mobility since the project EX that was in 2009. So parallel with the SUMP, we already started a strategy paper on electromobility in 2011. And so since the beginning, actually also of the SUMP project, electromobility has been regarded as a horizontal topic covering not only passenger cars, but all means of transport. Next slide, please. So what is the topic or the status quo of electromobility in Aachen today? Next slide, please. So this is the vision chapter of electromobility, where we said our vision is that by 2050, all means of transport in Aachen are independent of fossil fuels, and all required energy is being produced CO2 neutral as far as possible in Aachen itself, in its region, and Aachen is one of Europe's competence centers on electromobility. The idea is that electromobility, or our vision is that it is developed and used in Aachen. Next slide, please. So here are some exemplary e-mobility projects within the SUMP. And for me, it's important to state that our idea is to use e-mobility as a catalyst towards a general shift to shared digital and emission-free mobility. And today, in this little snapshot, I would like to focus on two projects. Thank you. These are the regulations for our business trips within the city administrations, and also the replacement of buses and special vehicles within the administration. Next slide, please. So to start with the regulation for the business trips within the administration. So managing air pollution and improving quality of life are important goals, and they can be achieved, of course, and they have to be achieved with a lot of different measures. But these include the implementation of e-vehicles, electrification of buses, and also, for example, the construction of the pedelec rental stations. But in order to set an example, our city administration has set a completely new policy for our business trips. So before, the status quo for many years, or actually decades, was to reimburse our colleagues when they used their own car. So to start actually that shift, we partnered with a consulting company and did a lot of quite broad analysis of our business trips. And using, like after this analysis phase, we started a pilot phase with one department. So we did this analysis in order to know how big an electric carpool had to be ideally. So after that, we started with one department who switched from using their own cars to using the city-owned electric cars. But we didn't just want to switch the technology, so to say. So because we promote intermodality, with the new regulations there, we developed a hierarchy when I or all of my colleagues want to do a business trip. So if one employee needs to do a trip, they are encouraged to, and this is the top of the hierarchy, either walk, cycle. This means using their own bicycle or sharing bike, or use public transport. And if this is not possible, everyone can use an e-vehicle from our own carpool. And in case an e-vehicle is not available, we can, for called overflow usage, we partnered with our local car sharing company in Aachen. So we can make use of our car sharing stations. We included all options into, next slide please, into one app, and for the usage of all the options, we only need one card. So we need this one card to open the electric cars and also to get bicycles from the stations, and we can book and reserve the cars and also the bikes via an app which was locally developed. And this card also is used as a ticket for the public transport. Next slide, please. And also to mention one more aspect, after our business hours, all the electric cars, they go into the pool of the public car sharing. So I think it's weekdays past 5, every citizen who does car sharing can use the electric cars which are city owned. So next slide, please. The bus fleet. So actually it was within the CIVITAS project that the first bus could be converted. This was a battery-powered electric bus, which was converted by ASEAC staff actually in their own workshop. And the funding came from CIVITAS in 2016. Now, in 2020, after a lot of effort and honestly also quite some trouble in the procurement of the first e-buses, there are finally 30 buses in Aachen on their way. Currently, the fleet consists of 230 buses, 13 of which are e-buses, and all other buses are either Euro Norm 6 or they have been upgraded with SCR filters. Next slide, please. So in this picture, you see a mini electric bus, the so-called Ego Mover, which is also a homegrown development by the local Ego company. They also developed and manufacture passenger cars. This bus is a minibus, which is supposed to go on the route from the main station to the market square. And it has automated features. And actually within 2 research projects, the bus will be deployed here in Aachen. Next slide, please. So here you see 2 Nissan ENV 200s, which have been retrofitted for our municipal utility company. So they pick up, actually, they work for the city sanitation department, and they collect sacks which have been previously filled with garbage from parks and streets. And as you can see, they have the tipping function, so they can be easily unloaded once they are at the waste collection point. Next slide, please. So we also have cargo bikes for the operations department, and they are mainly used in the city center because they, as you can see, they are slim, small, silent, and they also promote active mobility. Next slide, please. This was actually the Renault Twizy, was one of the first retrofitted cars for our operations company, and it also has a garbage can at the back and a shovel and brooms, and is also meant for quite inner city cleaning. Next slide, please. Our public order department has recently introduced hybrid vehicles. So as these colleagues work on 3 shifts, it was quite a challenge to introduce electric mobility, because it was a question just when to load them, because the 3 shifts make they are just lacking time for enough time for recharging. So therefore, the hybrid vehicles seem to be a good entry into electromobility because they can switch to fuel when the electric range ends. Next slide, please. Here you see a cargo bike, which we actually use, which we internally use, and it is branded. It has this our SUMP slogan, Aachen Clevermobile. Next slide, please. So this is a novelty for us, because also our city operations procure 2 hydrogen-powered garbage trucks, which will be delivered a bit delayed. We were actually awaiting them in December, but now they will be delivered in January 2021. And there will be 2 more procured next year, because actually right now we have the availability of good national funding. The fueling will take place at the public hydrogen station, which is in close proximity to the depot. Next slide, please. So quick summary, because I think I'm already beyond my 10 minutes, excuse me. So my summary is that I think it's good to seek early adopters within the administration. So if there are techies who like the topic and who are willing to pilot projects, it's good to partner with them. It's just really immensely important to find that colleagues who are willing to help implement and pilot the novel technologies. Also, usually with projects comes money, and both fulfillment of project goals, but also the availability of funding and money are just always good occasions or good reasons to try something new. And once you tried something new, it's much more easier to implement it in the long term. And I think political will and political support can never be overrated. And we were lucky enough to always had political support to implement electromobility. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it should be embedded in the broader context. So electromobility should not be seen as a purpose in itself, but more as a means to an end, namely to promote sustainable mobility. And I think through this new technology, an established system could be re-evaluated, and our target is to encourage everyone to start thinking mobility in a broader and more sustainable context. And this is why we started here in the city administration, also to be, when we then come to what my colleague Kai will present, green mobility management, we want to be the first user, and we also want to practice what we preach, so to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Very interesting set of measures you have in Aachen. So I'm sure there will be a lot of questions about it. We're all very curious to know more. But I will first invite then Francisco to please unmute himself and present us a bit about Madrid, and then we will go back to questions and discussion. Thank you very much, Christina.
Hello again, and thanks to all of you that have chosen this room to hear about this interesting presentation on Aachen, and after these things that I'm going to tell you about Madrid and the transport electrification of Madrid. I'd like to say as an introduction that the measures that you're about to see that were implemented in Madrid were developed in the framework of the CIVITAS eccentric project that have just come to an end, and during which duration we have been working together with other European cities, Stockholm, Turku, Munich, and Russe. So this is a big common effort in all these cities. Next slide, please. So we have a framework, as our colleague from Aachen was telling before, a strategic framework that includes air quality and climate change plans, such as the Plan A, what we call the Plan A for air quality, the Madrid 360 degrees strategy, and after the COVID outbreak, the city agreements, or Acuerdos de la Villa in Spanish, which were signed by all political representatives in the city council. It's an uncommon example of unity between our political representatives to face challenges in the post-COVID outbreak, and particularly mobility changes. So in this framework, we've been working in the promotion of the uptake of clean vehicle in public transport, municipal services, urban logistic chains, and in the freight distribution that is carried on by private partners. And one of the first initiatives in these areas was the development of a charging network plan, which we have been a recent development, for example, with a new investment of 2 million euros a few weeks ago to increase e-charging infrastructure during the city of Madrid. Next slide, please. As regards the municipal electric bus fleet, they have been the municipal bus company or transport company, the EMT, has been working for many years now in low emission buses. Most of the fleet is made up of gas propelled buses, so with vehicles with lower emissions than the standard diesel buses. But there was this twist towards a more electrified future and full electrification. So we have been working in the replacement of diesel buses with the aim of having 100% fleet, a low emission fleet, or zero emission buses in Madrid. So we have a mainstream made up of gas propelled buses, and the newly coming buses, new replacement of old diesel buses are going the electric way. I'd like to mention as well the new, what we call 00 bus lines. There's 2 lines in the city, serving the city center of Madrid, with electric buses that is zero. There's zero emission, and they can also be used for free. So there is a zero cost. So we have this experience going on for almost 1 year now. Next slide, please. Okay, so what results have we achieved with the strategy? First of all, a high level of satisfaction, noise reduction, and better comfort, as it was perceived by more than 30% of users. A big majority, 69% of the citizens in favor to municipal funding for fleet renewal. So there's a huge political and social support for this. A reduction of CO2 emissions by 21%, nitrogen oxide reduction by 73%, etc. So even though we've had to face higher investment costs, the operating costs have been also significantly reduced to 50%. So we're very happy, very pleased with the results. Next slide, please. We have also working, I agree very much with my colleague from Aachen in the electrification, in the setting a municipal example on this. So we've been working on replacing the municipal fleet with electric vehicle and extending the fast charging network in the city, and also in public buildings, municipal buildings, and other buildings around the city. Next slide, please. Hello. Next slide. Okay.
Yes, it comes. Okay.
Thank you. So again, in this framework of Accenture I was talking about, we have been measuring the results of these endeavors, and we have achieved the result that 1/3 of the municipal fleet has already shifted to electric cars through leasing contracts with different departments. Important reduction of CO2 emissions coming from the municipal fleet, also from air quality related emissions, and therefore health related emissions such as nitrogen oxides and particulate matters, and a reduction of the operating costs. So again, we evaluate the results of this initiative as a success, even though we have much work to do yet in the future. Next slide, please. I was talking at the beginning that one of the lines that we were working also in this eccentric project, CIVITAS eccentric project, was a clean urban freight, and particularly last mile distribution. In the low emission zone that we call Madrid Central, that covers an important territory in the historical center of Madrid. So this has a huge impact. So one of the things that we've been doing is testing in real life a new consolidation centers and electric last mile vans by working with private delivery companies that have also integrated the partnership of this European project. Another important achievement is that in 2018 there was a huge change in the regulation of the city with a new ordinance, mobility ordinance, that was thought for helping these kind of changes towards sustainable mobility. Next slide, please. So again, using this methodology of the CIVITAS eccentric project, we show in this slide some of the results that we obtained during this test, with almost full reduction or banning in the nitrogen oxide emissions, and an important also reductions in particulate matter emissions and CO2 emissions, of course energy consumption, and savings for the cleaner trucks operator, for the delivery freight delivery operators, and an important satisfaction among the users and the living labs where we have been testing this. Next slide, please. And the first initiative that I would like to talk about is the development, the creation of a new low emission Z-track that was put in place by one of the members of the consortium, eccentric consortium, Avia Engineering, and it was also tested by FM Logistics, and it had also an input from the university, the Polytechnic University of Madrid, and therefore the results were also valued as positive in this area. Next slide, please. So this is all I wanted to talk about, and I look forward for any comments or question that you should ask. I would like to mention as well that we have in the audience Isabela Velázquez and Carlos Verdaguer, who are members of the project, very relevant members of the project, and that maybe will intervene in the colloquium afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Francisco. And it's very interesting indeed to learn from the CIVITAS eccentric project, which was indeed one of the 3 demonstration projects within the CIVITAS initiative that has delivered indeed so much. Here in Madrid, we already heard so many different measures that nevertheless complement each other, so they all go into the same direction. I would like to open the floor if there are questions, but of course you're also free to share your experience. Maybe you have something similar in your city. Maybe you're struggling with a specific challenge and you would like to bring it up. So you can do so by raising your hand and I will give you the floor, or also by writing into the chat box. I see Christina has a question or maybe a comment. So please, Christina.
Yeah, no, I have a question for my colleague. I was actually wondering because I saw regarding the logistic operations, I saw what you called a consolidation center, and I was wondering if this consolidation center is shared by various operators. Or maybe also what it means, what you do at the consolidation.
No, it was an experience with this partner of the logistics. It has been thought to be used by several different operators.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So while maybe people think about their questions or the comments, oh, we had another one, but no. Yes, Ricardo, please unmute yourself. Feel free to.
Hi, everyone. Just a question. I'm from Sicily, and I would like to understand what could be the best practice to involve local authorities and private company in order to develop such strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. So a general question on how to involve the different actors at local level. So maybe, Christina, you want to start replying to this question?
Sure. So within our mobility planning, we have several, let's call them thematic groups. And one thematic group is on electromobility, and this is the structure where we try to involve local stakeholders. So this means policymakers, but also companies, universities. So, and of course, us as the city administration. And I think it's actually a good idea to involve them into the general planning. And in this thematic group, we develop ideas which we pass on to the steering committee and which will be then passed on to the mobility committee, which ultimately decide. So I think for us, this has been to also involve them directly in the planning.
Thank you. Maybe Francisco wants to add something from the perspective of Madrid.
Yes, I'd say a very similar experience is very similar. I've had big involvement with not only companies but all kind of stakeholders. The issue is that there's the incentive to participate. There's a very heavy incentive to participate, in the meaning that public spaces are very scarce resource, and it is cities are very strongly regulated spaces as regards other spaces in other parts, and so companies and local stakeholders in broader terms have a very important incentive to participate. In our case, we have used the Living Lab methodology. That means that we've selected a part of the city. In our case, a very large part, maybe even too large. The neighborhoods that we call Vallecas, which are with hundreds of thousands of inhabitants, where people are very interested in participate from a local standpoint, and businesses also respond very quickly to this need. If you issue a new regulation or a new regulatory proposal for sustainable mobility, they will come very quickly to your table, trying to make sure that, of course, that their respective points of view are well served. So this is our experience as well.
Thank you. And indeed, I understand from your presentations, both of you, that all these electromobility measures that you have tested and deployed in your cities were dedicated into a broader context. So it was mainly the SUMP or the vision for the city in the long term. So I would like to ask both of you how important and why is to include this electromobility into the broader context. What are the advantages of doing so? Maybe Christine, yeah, you can start.
Okay, thank you. So I think from the experience via electromobility, because it was kind of a sexy topic, it was much easier to find the entry in measures that have been planned for a longer time. So for some reason, it's much easier to promote car sharing when it's or ride sharing when it's electric mobility, or it's pedelecs have been, because Aachen has a quite hilly topography, and so our bike sharing has become successful once it was actually electric bike sharing. So I think with the fascination of the topic around electromobility, there's the opportunity to implement measures around shared and sustainable mobility, which have been planned anyway, but it just becomes easier because the topic is not so new anymore, but it's still interesting, and it has this flavor that makes it attractive. And for us, especially with the regulations around the new business trip policy, it was very important to not just shift one technology by another. So it just makes no sense to swap one car with an electric car. But when we wanted to do this shift towards new business trips, we made sure to embed it into a broader shift, where we made it mandatory to first check if you can walk or use the bike sharing system, or that you can take the bus. So the planning was well beyond what charging infrastructure do we need and how many cars, but also how can we make sure it's a convenient system which we can use with one card, and where we can embed electromobility in this broader context of sustainable mobility.
Thank you. Francisco, in the case of Madrid?
Yes, I'd say that I guess that we all have a quite similar experience on this. We may think that the expansion of electric mobility is somehow downslope. Everybody's talking about electromobility. There's a big huge in transport services, vehicle makers, and so on, and even European and national regulators towards electric mobility or low or zero emission mobility. So this is something that you may ask yourself. The question is very relevant, because you may ask yourself, why should I do anything special in my city regarding this when everybody is talking about this in every city, and the industry and the public and everyone. But I think that you have to make sure that the development of these electric services have a strategic view to be aligned with the broader objectives that you may have in sustainable mobility. For example, we all know, for example, that the intensive use of car has a very, sometimes excessive use of car has a very relevant externality concerning air quality and the people's health and so on. But it has other externalities, and so you have to make sure that it is not only a change in technology that maybe contributes to solve one of the problems that you may have, but it is in line with other necessities that you have regarding the distribution of public space, people's health, not only talking about breathing clean air, but also about more active using more active transportation modes, such as cycling, or very relevant to have integration of this working line in the mobility strategy, sustainable mobility strategy that you may have for your city.
Yes, thank you, both of you. Indeed, we don't want to move from traditional cars to electric cars. So there are indeed different aspects to take, different externalities, as you say, Francisco, to take into account. And one of those is, of course, also public space, the quality of space for people that we might want to preserve in our cities. So it has to be seen in the broader context, in the view of the different goals that the city for itself. I want to just encourage participants to really share questions. Fantastic. I see Anna Maria, please go ahead.
Hello, thank you. My name is Anna from Ljubljana, and I'm a student of sustainable development. And we're often encouraged to assess sustainable practices holistically. And one of the questions that usually arises in the discussion is how to take care of the waste. So I was wondering if the cities have a plan or idea on how to deal with waste management in the long term. For example, how to dispose of the batteries. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Maria. Who wants to go? Cristina or Francisco?
In the city of Madrid, we have an overall waste management, recycling, and so on strategy. It is not, we don't have a specific line that I know of. I'm not a specialist in this. I don't have a specific perspective on battery and the new kind of recycling that is increased, multiplied by the expansion of the electric mobility. In our case, it is something that is more related as other lines, waste management lines, political lines related to cars towards to the national and regional governments that are already managing, for example, the rest other parts of the cars that need to be recycled, sometimes re-engineered to avoid the damages to the environment.
Thanks. Cristina, do you want to add something from the side of Aachen?
So mainly I would like to add that it's a very good question, and that usually because our leasing contracts, they go back to the company, and I have to say that I have no clue what happens to the battery. What we do, a university institute which does research on a second life of batteries. But so far it's a too niche topic for us. So, but well, I thank you for the hint, and it's actually really important to have a closer look at it.
Yeah, a very tricky aspect indeed. If there are no more questions, I would like to maybe ask you some general ones. So both of you have presented a comprehensive set of measures to move towards an electrification of the city in the municipal fleets, in public transport, in other utility services, and so on. If you would have to give an advice to a city that is at the starting point of such a process, where would you advise them to go first? What kind of measures in this field, of course, do you think would be the best to start off, to have the some good results and with little experience or little budget? So where would you advise them to start from? Anyone who wants to give it a shot?
Still thinking. So I think, as I said, a good advice would be, first of all, to find a good coalition within the city administration. So because for us, it proved very successful to find colleagues who deal with cars every day, like in the municipal utility company or the city operations. And once they were enthusiastic by electric mobility, it was actually much easier, especially for the tendering and procurement of cars, to give priority to electromobility. So I would say try to find the colleagues who might be enthusiasts jointly with you. And also, I think actually funding, once you have funding, it's always a good occasion, because usually no city will, if you can have an electric vehicles supported by funding, and they become cheaper, it's and then you can, once you have piloted it, it becomes easier to actually implement it as your status quo once you have the first vehicles on board. And yeah, but I would say it's good to find a coalition within the city administration and start from there.
Thank you, Cristina. Yes, please, Francisco.
Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't say maybe a deceiving answer, but I wouldn't recommend any specific measure, but a methodological orientation, which is starting by identify who the stakeholders are, what your goals are. So we were talking about the strategy. So what is your strategy? Do you have an air quality problem and you need really quick results on this area? Maybe you don't, but you have other kinds of objectives. So you have to identify the stakeholders, the objectives, and try to open a public discussion, because mobility affects everyone. And there's heavy political discussion and social discussions on mobility. It's not only limited to the city councillors, but you go to a bar and you listen to people, and your friends, your family are talking to you about the new mobility issues. And so this kind of open discussion, identification of stakeholders, and clear idea about what your objectives are would be the place to start. And afterward, you have a lot of several measures, the different measures that have been taken in Aachen, in Madrid, and in many other cities that you can learn from. And I guess that one of the things that we people who work for cities have is that we love to share and to learn from each other. So it won't be difficult to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I need to sum up a bit, I would say you said that it's quite important to find indeed support within the city administration. So not only at political level, but also in terms of colleagues that work on this stuff and that have the power to do some minor changes as well that can have a big impact, such as through procurement of the vehicles that they're using for the different city activities. I think another important point that you made, Cristina, was the piloting. So even if budget is not available for large scale measures, we can always make use of the budget available to test in a smaller scale. And this, I'm sure I've seen this in many other context, that's always very powerful because it raises awareness about the measure, the impact, the benefits of such a measure. Or also it's a good way to rectify, to maybe adjust some aspects and then go all the way, but with the lessons learned from the pilot. And then Francisco also said it's very important to have goals clear. So to really understand where you want to go, so to create this understanding within the city administration, but especially also with the public, with the different stakeholders that will be involved in the process of electrification, with the citizens, because we are all very much affected by this kind of measures in our cities. Mobility is for all of us. So thank you very much. If there are no last minute questions or comments that participants want to make, I will just give you a couple of seconds to react. All right, then. So I think I can then thank very much our speakers, Christina and Francisco, for presenting their measures in Aachen and Madrid. Thank you for having been with us. I will just show all the participants. Somebody took my slides. Where are we? No. I need to have control of the slides, otherwise I cannot show you the other rooms. So you will see for the second round, which will start in a couple of minutes, you will have the chance to either stay here in this room, room number 1, and hear about green mobility strategies with private companies. I remind you that this will be with Aachen again and with Szeged. Otherwise, you can move on to room number 2, where you will hear about cycling as active mode. Or you can also go to room number 3, which will be about active modes and vulnerable users. So either you stay here or you move to room number 2 or number 3. You should be able to see, to click on the slides. Of course, not for number 1, because this would mean that you stay here. But for the other 2, if you cannot see the links, if you are not able to click on the links, I will just post the links into the chat. Just a second. Here you are. So I hope you can see them, or you can click on the slides. I invite you to then join other rooms, or to stay here as well. Of course, that's a possibility. Yeah, and enjoy the next session. Thank you very much for having been here with us.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Reka.
Hello.
So we're waiting for all the people to join their rooms. Hello, Kay.
Hello.
We give it a couple of more minutes because I see more and more people are joining, are moving from other rooms. So this process always takes a couple of minutes. I hope meanwhile you have enjoyed the first round and you have learned interesting stuff about all these cities that are featured in the CIVITAS publication. This room, as you can see from the screen, will be about green mobility strategies with private companies. One more minute and we can start. Thank you for your patience. Okay, people are still changing from other rooms, I've been told. So let's give everybody a couple of seconds more before we start. Okay, it looks like we are complete. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Matilde Chinellato. I'm Mobility Project Coordinator at Eurocities. I'm here today to help you moderate this session, which, as you know, as you can see, is about green mobility strategy with private companies. We will hear from two cities, from Aachen and from Szeged. We have with us Kai Oebels from the city of Aachen. Hello, Kai. And we have Reka Erdeli from Szeged with us as well. So I would like to suggest that you keep your questions for the final discussion and question and answer session at the end. So we will hear from the presentations first, both of them. Of course, feel free also to send your questions through the chat box. We will read them at the end. Or you feel free to raise your hand and I will give you the floor. So without further delay, I would like to invite Kai from Aachen to unmute himself and to start with his presentation.
Sure. Okay. Do you want me to take over control of the slides? Or?
It's better, I think, if I do it and you can just tell me when to move on the slides.
Okay.
Thank
Very
you.
well. So. Yes, so thank you very much. I will give you an insight into our program, the Corporate Mobility Management for Employers, which is in turn a fairly new program here at the City of Aachen, where we try to help and support private employers implementing a strategy for corporate management, mobility management. Okay, so the next slide, please. Okay, so to give you a short overview about Aachen, or the situation for commuting in Aachen. So we have in Aachen in total somewhat 246,000 inhabitants and daily in-commuters well above 90,000, while almost the same amount of people commute within Aachen. The number of out-commuters is fairly less, 36,000 approximately. So you see people commute to Aachen and work in the city. And this results in a day population of somewhat 300,000 people in Aachen. Okay, the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So, like I said at the beginning, the general focus of our program is, or the general idea is to get people to switch to alternative modes of transportation while being on their way from work or to their working place. And so we want to change their mobility behavior or help the employers to foster a change in the mobility behavior of the employees. So we try to have an impact on the employees' mobility behavior. We help to design the companies, institutions, employers respectively, specific mobility concepts, and all it's making operational traffic more cost efficient and ecologically sensitive. So and then, yeah, thank you very much. So on the one hand, we have the traffic capacity, like the present infrastructure, which is relevant for traffic in general. But we focus on the traffic intensity, so the use, how is it used, and their mobility management is one of the main tools in our toolbox to have an impact or influence on this. And what we want is a lasting change in behavior. So what is very, very important is communication. But also we want to give really hands-on experiences for the people. So we offer tests and or we have test and mobility offers and some services, consulting services, etc. Next slide, please. Thank you. So our program is we have in a program office. So two colleagues of mine are the operational main players in this program office. So we have two mobility managers who are with the City of Aachen, located here, and some external consulting as well. And so what we do is we offer tailored mobility analysis for traffic related to commuting for employers. And what we do is we assess the potential for a transition and advises on actions for a switch to more sustainable modes of transportation. As I mentioned, we have the test mobility offers. We do informative events. So the networking is a huge part of our program. So there the slide is a little bit damaged. The whole program goes or is in line with the evaluation approaches and the benchmarking. So what companies do, they sign a letter of intent to participate in our program. And the benchmarking is not so much meant in the direction of comparing and doing a who's the best in class, but rather a positive reinforcement and a tool for exchange. The next slide, please. So the whole process of Aachen Electromobily, that's actually the brand name of our program, can be shown in 4 steps. It's a get to know. So we meet up with the company, we get to know the company and their needs and ambitions. And in the second step, we have the mobility analysis, which is really pretty much the key step in this whole process, because we gather survey data on the mobility behavior of the employees and the location data. And in the next step, we offer some measures or give advice on measures and develop together with the participating companies and institutions their ambitions. And in the last step, it's the evaluation and benchmarking I already mentioned, and which should be repeated once per year. The next slide, please. So the mobility analysis is quite a complex issue, but I brought like an image where you can get a grip on what we do. So we feed our mobility analysis tool with data from the companies and the employees. So it's everything's anonymously gathered data for sure. But what we can do is we look at the locations where the employees work and where they live. And so in a nutshell, what we can do is we analyze the potential of the status quo. So how do they get to work now, today, and what would be possible? So there is a routing system behind this analysis tool, and so down for each mode of transportation, like cycling and public transportation or shared mobility, we see, okay, how's the status quo and what would be possible if we could get the employees to switch to these alternative modes of transportation. The next slide, please. So in this, I will take you now to the third step, to the test and mobility offers and the communication and campaigns. This is really the next step. So we have the analysis and we know, okay, how is status quo and what would be possible for the employees of a specific company. And now you have to get them involved. So the company itself, but more important, the employees. And to give them a really hands-on experience, we have some mobility offers, for example, e-bikes. So people who drive by car to their working place, they can get really hands-on experience on how does it feel and how is the time ratio in comparison to their car. How do I get to work, and is it a suitable option for me? And on the other hand, communication campaigns is you have really to address the people, to get in contact with them and to raise awareness of possible alternatives to the motorized individual traffic. Next slide, please. So what we do is we have some mobility partners as well. And here these images show you like the whole plethora of options you have when trying to really inspire people using different modes of transportation. On the right side, down low there, is this key card is representing the public transportation. So we have like job tickets and different options to get people to use the public transportation. As I mentioned, we offer test options for electric bikes, and we try to give the companies an insight into using electric cars. car sharing on the left side. And so this is what we do is we develop together with the company an individual tailored concept how to approach the most relevant issues which we draw from the mobility analysis. So we have like some top topics which to address first. It's like the low-hanging fruits, and that we can tackle with really like offers we have to offer. Next slide, please. And in the last step, we have the evaluation and benchmarking, as I mentioned. So here the keyword is really network and positive reinforcement. And we can go to the next slide, please. And this is what we do. We have, for example, one format is the CEO conference. So we gather the CEOs from different institutions and companies participating in our program. And we foster the network, and we really think the network. So there are a lot of companies having the same problems, I would say, or challenges. And by fostering the exchange of those stakeholders, you can really get a creative process in solving problems and approaching challenges. And in the first round, we had 7 pioneer employers participating in the program. And we had this kickoff conference actually in the course of the European Mobility Week this year, and together with our initial mobility partners. So this is our companies for public transportation, bike sharing, etc. Next slide, please. So to conclude, what we aim for with Aachen Electromobily, it's our program. So we want to address 27,000 individual car drivers who work with the companies participating in the program, and we try to have 7,000 people switching from motorized individual traffic to alternative modes of transportation. And we estimate that this may be then to the project end in 2020. To 15.6 million kilometers saved. So these kilometers are kilometers driven by car, which results in an approximate 3,323 tons per year CO2 saved in the same time frame. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kai. Very, very interesting measures here. I'm sure there will be again many questions, but before we go there, I suggest that we hear first from our colleague Reka from Szeged. So we have the full set of measures and then we address the questions. Reka, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Matilda. Welcome everybody. Good morning. I would like to present to you a project that the city of Szeged started in 2018 with the support of the Urban Innovative Actions Fund. First of all, when it comes to, yes, please, let's go on to the second slide. First of all, I would like to talk to you about mobility in general and what the city of Szeged set as goals when it comes to mobility and especially commuting. So we wanted to have less pollution and less congestion in the city. I think that's quite general. Many other cities, if not most of them, would like to have these. We thought that the way to achieve this is to support sustainable mobility and active modes. And the results that we hoped to get is healthier citizens, less stress related to commuting, and cleaner air. So overall, better quality of life in our city. Now, if we move to the next slide, I think the biggest question mark for all of us is the way, how to support sustainable mobility and active modes. And this is where our project, SUSMOB, came into the picture. Let's move to this next slide, please. To establish this project, we first of all looked at some numbers. And as you can see, we looked at the modal split of our city and how it is evolving through time. we saw that cycling is on the rise, which is something that we like, and which is something that we are really happy about. But we also saw that car usage is also rising steadily throughout the years. And we saw also that the share of public transport is diminishing. The next number that we looked at, yes, I'm going to talk about the pie chart here. The next number that we looked at is the reasons of a trip in the city. And as you can see, these are representative household surveys conducted in the beginning of the project in 2018. So what we saw is that the majority of the trips taken in the city are work-home relations. So it seemed rational for us to reach out to local employers and propose them an alliance, which would create a win-win situation for the city and for the employers as well. Let's go on to the next slide, please. So we came up with this proposition to establish the Smart Alliance for Sustainable Mobility. The role of the city was to bring together local employers who are willing to take part in this alliance. Also, the role was to execute own actions. So if there was a need of infrastructural development, then it was our role to act upon this issue. And then the next thing was to share knowledge and provide tools for employer-based mobility planning. This was quite a new idea here, that employers can be active in this field and can ease the commuting issues of their employees. For this, we gathered experts that would bring their knowledge here. And we also provide tools, for example, a mobile application and a web platform that I will talk about later. And we also want, and our mission has been to expand the participation. As you can see in the picture below, in the first round, there were 7 big employers of the city who wanted to participate in this alliance. And today I can say that we have 20 altogether, 20 employers who are members of this alliance. Now, when it comes to the employers, their role is to establish sustainable mobility-friendly workplaces. This can be the expansion or of good quality bicycle storage, or the financial support of public transport usage. They are also tasked to organize mobility and awareness raising campaigns and to overall motivate their employees to choose sustainable mobility through games and competitions. Let's go on to the next slide. So this concept is not something very, very new. As you could see, the city of Aachen is doing something very similar, which is very good, I think, and it's great for me to see. Our example kind of was the Movability initiative based in Austin, Texas, and you can also find a very similar project in Toulouse, which is also supported by the UIA. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Now, what are the benefits for an employer joining this alliance? We think and we believe that this will result in a competitive edge that they will gain on the labor market, because employees will see this as a plus that their employer is doing for them. So basically taking care or thinking about their commuting issues and thinking about how to make this thing more comfortable for them. They will also get healthier and less stressed employees at the end, because their daily activity that they will kind of exercise during commuting. And this is also a form of community building with the games and competition that they organize. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is the application that we are about to launch. in this application, the main module is mobility tracking, where the application is calculating the calories burned. For example, if I choose my bike to work today, I will see when I arrive, I will see how many calories did I burn during this journey to work. I will also get a number about the CO2 whose emission I avoided by choosing, for example, public transport. And I will also get a number about a calculation of the money I saved, for example, by walking and not choosing my car to go to work. We also have a carpooling module in this application, which help employees to organize their journey home. For example, if they still choose to use their car, but they are happy to share their car or share their journey back home, they can have this opportunity to reach out to other employees and to share and to carpool within the organization. Let's see the next slide, please. And this is the urban cockpit, as we call it. That was developed by and with the help of the Urban Institute. This is a dashboard that shows us all the data that is gathered through these applications, that is gathered from the employees. And we can see here, company by company, the data that they provide. So we have this and aggregated data concerning, for example, calories and distances taken by different transport modes. This is kind of the web and application support for all of this. Now, I'm kind of approaching the end of my presentation, and I would like to talk to you about a bit of challenges that we had, because it is sometimes, of course, we are very happy about the project and we are progressing according to schedule. But I think it's good to also talk about the challenges that you might have, and maybe Kai from Aachen can kind of say or share their experiences about this. But I think that the biggest thing that we had is to bring together employers from different backgrounds and to set, like common goals, because we have local employers who are maybe who have a smaller organization and have less resources to this issue, and we have companies from international backgrounds with very different company culture who are more willing to take part in this. So it was not always easy to deal with companies and people who come from very different backgrounds. So this might be a challenge to say, but we are working on this project in order to make our city an overall better place, especially for commuting. And we also hope that employers and the company culture will develop thanks to this initiative. And we also hope that more and more employers will be open to remote work to reduce the traffic, especially during peak hours in the city. And if you're interested, you can always learn more at the UIA initiatives web page. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Reka, and thank you as well for sharing the challenges. Of course, we all know that when we are introducing new measures in the city, there are always some struggles and difficulties we have to face, and it's indeed by sharing with the others that we can find solutions that we had never thought about. Before I turn to Kay as well to ask him what were the challenges, I wanted to maybe give the opportunity to the participants to ask questions. I remind you, you can raise your hand, or you can write in the chat box. You can ask questions, but you can also comment, maybe share your experience. So we would be extremely curious to know what's the status quo in your cities. Maybe while you're thinking about that, I turn then to Kai, and I would like to ask what actually Reka had mentioned. So, what kind of challenges did you have to face in Aachen in implementing this kind of measures?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think it's the main challenge is to get people or to get companies on board. So that's what I mentioned. We have these pioneer companies. We call them pioneer because they were like the participants in the program the first hour. So there is the challenge can be redirected in a opportunity if you get on board some pioneers, and they will have like a pull effect. And I think this is the main solution to face those challenges in how to get people on board. And once you have done this, then you can profit from this approach, because you will get more and more companies involved. And by getting companies involved, you ensure the success of this approach. And you bring them together, and with the thinking the network. So the networking is a key part, and you have to always show them how the companies can benefit from the program. So our main tool in the toolbox is this mobility analysis tool, because we can really translate like our thoughts when we look at the mobility management, mobility behavior into data. And this is something they can benefit, because if you think about it, like parking space is a important topic for almost every company. And if you can improve the situation at the company site, and the whole situation in for people commuting, employees commuting, then they have like they can get a grasp of what a direct benefit they have in line with the program. So it's incentives, it's offers, it's networking, it's exchange, I think.
Yeah, and that was indeed my natural following question, because you both have presented these two very ambitious programs with I would say successful results in terms of involvement. But indeed, I was wondering how you convinced the employers to be part of these process. And so, yeah, we've heard right now from Aachen that this was a little bit challenging, let's say, but maybe by tailoring the program to their needs, and by showing the benefits, even in concrete terms, like parking space that is being freed up, this can really make a difference. And then, of course, the networking opportunity acting as a pool of companies. Maybe I'd like to ask Reka the same thing. So how you managed to convince so many companies? You moved from 7 to 20 employers in your alliance, and then I will go to the chat box, because I see some questions are coming.
So I think we were quite lucky with this process. We are working with experts from the University of Szeged who work in this process, in the getting on board phase. And we of course had some companies who said they are not interested in this project, but they were the minority. And this is really something that we are lucky about, to have so many companies joining. And I think when we want to convince them, we use international good practices that our experts gathered to really show them that this is something that works, and this is kind of a new and an innovative aspect of HR, and this will mean something to their employees. So this is really something that is in their own interest as well. And the other thing is that having good relationship with the municipality is always a good thing. And so yeah, we kind of presented this to every company as a win-win situation, and we start with what they have to gain, what they have to win from this alliance.
Thank you, Reka. Indeed, I think that showing the indirect benefits that they will get through more satisfied employees, that's certainly a big advantage, and HR perspective that they might not have considered. So there is a question in the chat box from Astrid. I'm not sure, Astrid, where you're from. Maybe you can tell us later or in the chat. She's asking to Kay. She's curious to know if the employers get this consulting and analysis services for free from the city, if this is an offer you give for free.
Yeah, they do actually. So this is part of the project, of the funded project. They do get the consulting, the services for free, but there's a letter of intent, and what they sign is more or less, so they acknowledge that for having success, like a long-lasting success, they need to do something themselves. So that's what we always wear raisins for, so that to really change the mobility behavior of their employees and to benefit from it as a company or institution, they have to invest. So they have to make offers like job tickets and whatever. So this goes then in the direction of financial invest for the company. But the program itself, the participation in the program is free. And the second question is about like the mobile working. Yeah, we do address that. So we have been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic as well, and so we had to switch a bit in our program, because like mobile working is has become a natural topic, unfortunately, because mobile working is good, but the pandemic, that's like a really sad cause. But yeah, we do address that as a important issue when thinking and talking about mobility management. Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, we can offer a variety of alternatives for commuting, but sometimes maybe the one easy way is also just to introduce maybe 1 or 2 days of teleworking per week. This makes a great difference for the environment and for the employers as well. Was this considered in Szeged as well, in your alliance, Reka?
Yes, indeed. And we can say that in the beginning, teleworking was not a very popular opportunity for employers here. But as we saw this year with the pandemic crisis, this changed drastically. And this is one thing that the virus kind of had as a positive impact, along with the disastrous impact that it had. That teleworking became more acceptable and more feasible for a lot of companies. So we hope that in the future we can at least keep a certain percent of the people working from home where it is possible. So yeah, of course, we had this opportunity open for employers.
All right, thank you. And still, meanwhile, I remind people that they are also free to raise their hands and to unmute themselves to ask questions or comments directly. And meanwhile, I just wanted to ask you, both of you, what would you say are the most important success factors in these measures that you have explained us? What do you think it's really key to be successful in this, in the implementation of these measures? Maybe, I don't know, Kay wants to start, and then Rekka?
Yeah, sure. Key factors for success. I think it's I think it's pretty individual. I think it's important to approach the companies, institutions, or employers' needs like in a tailored manner. So to show that you really understand and their challenges on their side as well. And I think the second key issue I would mention here is the networking, the exchange, to really get into a discussion as well, because it's not only about the specific needs and challenges and benefits for companies. It's to really stress that companies are a part of a mobility transition. For example, in our case in Aachen. So it's something that should be addressed to society itself and as a whole, but companies do play a vital role in this. And I think this is an important message that you have to send as well.
Yeah, thank you, Kay. Rekka, what would be the key success factors according to you?
What just Kay said is very interesting. This tailored approach. I think this is very good, and the exchanges. One thing that I would highlight is those people who are a source of change within each community or within a company. And I know that some of the companies who we work with, they kind of they selected their influencers within the company who are very active in this field, or who are like famous of choosing sustainable mobility and active modes, and they were these so employees could relate really to these people. So there, it's always easier when you see that, okay, there is somebody who works at the same company, comes to this same site or building where I work, and they can act as an example. And this is something so relatable for other employees that they are very much likely to follow suit.
Thank you, Rekka. Meanwhile, Astrid was asking in the chat box if the visibility that you give to companies is also a success factor, like, for example, through news items, press releases. Do you think this plays a major role in the success of the measure?
I think it does play a role. It does, yeah. It's positioning for sure. I mean, why not? I mean, the companies are making efforts, and so it's okay to. It's a good thing to show what they do and to let them have a position in that. So I think, yeah, sure, it's a success factor. I don't know if it's the most important one or one of the most important ones, but yeah, it's one, I would say.
Thanks. Reka, you want to add something on this?
Yes, I think it's a great thing to consider, and we also had a series of interviews with the employers taking part in this alliance. And I think that it is also, if I come back to HR, this is also helping with their employee retention rates. And because, you know, skilled workforce is always something that a company that a company wants, and they want to retain their workforce, especially in the field of IT, for example. So yes, this was definitely an asset for these employers.
Yeah, certainly helps improving the image that the company has towards the employees, indeed. Great, thank you very much. So just to sum up a little bit some of the main aspects that we have discussed here, I noted down that certainly getting the employers on board, showing them the effects, the advantages is key to convince them and have the broadest results possible. The fact that you can tailor and understand their specific needs, I think it was Kay mentioning this, it proves to be very effective towards convincing them, but also towards having the best possible solutions for that specific problem. Networking, so getting into the discussion, having really so that companies understand that they are part of the mobility transition. I think that was a very important point that we raised. I thought that also having these kind of mobility champions within the companies, I think it was Reka mentioning this. It's a very powerful way to really make things happening in practice. So unless there are very last minute questions or comments, give you just a couple of seconds. Otherwise, I would like to thank very much our presenters. Thank you to Kai, to Reka for having been with us today to present their experiences. That was really interesting. Thank you to our participants. It's now time to go back to the plenary for the final remarks. So here you can find the link to the plenary. If you have issues with that, let me just copy paste the link into the chat box. Here we come. So you can either click on the slide that you can see, or you can find the link in the chat. Thank you very much once again. I hope to see you in the plenary and maybe in other CIVITAS activities in the near future. Thank you very much.